Okay, excellent. Well, hello. I thought it would be helpful for you as a group if I went through some of the qualities of these three posters that I've selected here to help you with your case study assignment that is due in May. That may seem a long way off, however, I can guarantee you that the time you have selected your athlete, conducted your interview, transcribed it, and then also come up with the potential interventions, that time will pass very quickly. So what I tried to do here is select three posters from last year's presentations to give three different interpretations of the assignment. This first one here looks quite pretty, nice bright colours. However, its major downfall is based upon the fact that in the analysis section here, the student says the athlete interviewed came across as needing very little extrinsic motivation to compete due to his desire to cycle. However, the title of the poster here is called A Study of Motivation. And as I'm looking for interventions that you would work with on a particular athlete in a particular situation, it's not logical, therefore, for this student to have selected motivation as the approach to take for this particular athlete, as it seems there was little extra that could be done. And so the training program that's been developed here will really be of very little use to this particular athlete. In conjunction with that, there's very little background information on motivation. There's a quote here, there's a little bit of an introduction here, and then some elements of discussion, but the discussion should be around how it is that the interventions are going to be useful for the athlete. And because motivation doesn't seem to be a problem, not sure really what it is that this particular student was trying to achieve. Okay, let's move on to this poster. Alright, again, face value, it looks excellent here. And I would have to say that based on the criteria that we have within your assignment, this poster comes closest to meeting all of those criteria. There's a reasonable amount of background information on imagery and imagery theory, setting the scene for what it is that needs to be done with the athlete. There are relevant quotes here from the interview showing how it is that the athlete is perhaps struggling with performance and why it is that imagery is a potential intervention to help this athlete perform better. And the two performance wheels that you see here are a before and after set of outcomes based on the interventions. And there are very clear interventions here with a very clear action plan of the psychological interventions that would be put in place in order to help the athlete, as well as references, appropriate references here, and a small amount of background information on the athlete which helps set the scene for where it is and how it is and the level of performance of this particular athlete. So overall, this poster meets the majority of the criteria that are set out in your assignment brief. If we look at this particular poster here, in some respects it's probably the prettiest to look at. Okay, it's quite dynamic, the colours are good, and there's a functionality around and logicality around how it is that you can read the poster. However, title is a little difficult to read, plus some spelling mistakes up here in the title which don't go down very well, and you'll see in your criteria that we're supposed to be having ethical considerations. And this player is clearly identified and profiled. Now, irrespective of whether that player has given his or her permission for this, it's not appropriate for you to be identifying your athlete in this way. Apart from that, it's got some reasonable resources here, not very well referenced and not in correct Harvard format, which is important, as you know. The action plan is a little vague, okay? It's not prescriptive and it doesn't give a timeline for how it is and when it is the particular action plan would be put into operation. And so, even though the discussion relates very well back to the action plan, which relates back to some of the identified areas for consideration in the interview, this is really not clear enough to indicate why these interventions would be appropriate and useful for the athlete. So, to recap then, all three of the posters meet some of the criteria. But it is very easy, if you read the criteria well, take all the criteria on board, for you to ensure that in one single poster, well organised and written concisely, you are able to produce the outcome that is required. So, based on my comments, this poster here, okay, received a high B. This poster here received a middle C. And this poster over here produced a high D. So there are clear differentials between all of these, and most of them are based upon meeting the exact criteria that are available for you. I hope that helps. Thank you. Okay.